From the very first year of their marriage, Peter thought he had found the secret key to controlling his wife, Comfort. He was not a bad man at heart, but he carried pride like a heavy crown on his head. He loved respect, obedience, and silence in his home. Whenever Comfort argued, or when her words became stronger than he liked, he would raise his voice and say one sentence that froze her heart. "I will send you back to your father's house." The words carried thunder. Comfort would immediately lower her voice. She would swallow her anger, even if tears were burning behind her eyes. She would obey, even when she felt wronged. And Peter noticed something. The more he used that threat, the more control he had. At first, he never really meant it. He had no plan of sending her away. It was just a weapon, a tool to silence her. He liked how she became calm the moment those words left his lips. To him, it was like magic. As years went by, the words became his shield, his weapon, his comfort. Every disagreement ended with that same line. If she complained about money, he said it. If she asked him to help with the children, he said it. If she looked too bold in front of his family, he said it. Comfort, in those early years, felt trapped. She came from a family that valued peace. Her father had always told her, a good wife builds her home with patience. Do not let outsiders laugh at you. So each time Peter threatened her, she would tell herself, I must endure. I must keep my home. But endurance has a limit. Slowly, something inside Comfort began to change. The first time Peter used the threat after many years of marriage, she did not cry. She simply looked at him, and though her lips trembled, she said softly, "Who told you my father's house is inconducive?" Peter was shocked. The woman who used to bow her head in silence now dared to challenge his words. For a moment, he stared at her, unable to speak. But his pride was too strong to let her win. He shouted louder, repeated the threat, and she walked away with her head held high. That night, Comfort did not beg. She did not kneel beside the bed as she used to, whispering apologies just to keep the peace. Instead, she slept facing the wall, her heart beating with anger and courage. Peter could not sleep either. Something about her new attitude disturbed him. He told himself, maybe she was just testing me. She will bow again next time. But deep down, fear whispered to him. What if the magic no longer worked? What if his power was fading? Days passed, and the arguments continued. The children, though young, could feel the tension. They saw how their mother's eyes had changed, no longer filled only with fear, but with fire. They noticed how their father shouted more, trying harder to control what was slipping away. One evening, after a long day at work, Peter came home to find Comfort already upset. She complained about the school fees that needed to be paid, about how the children needed new shoes. Instead of listening, he grew angry. His voice rose, and finally he shouted the line he had always used. "Comfort, I will send you back to your father's house." But this time, Comfort did not even flinch. She looked straight into his eyes and said, "Then do it. I am tired of hearing the same thing every day. Maybe your wish will give me peace." Her words struck him like a slap. He could not believe it. She was calling his bluff, daring him to carry out the very threat he had depended on for years. He thought she was joking. He thought she would later come crying, but Comfort remained calm, even bold. That night, Peter could not sleep again. For the first time in his life, he wondered, what if she actually leaves? What if she goes back and never returns? But pride chained his mouth. Instead of making peace, he planned to prove that he was still in control. In his heart, a storm was already brewing. He did not know that the lesson of his life was about to begin. The morning started like any other, but tension was hiding in the walls of the house. Peter woke up grumpy, his mind heavy with work stress. Comfort, already tired from cleaning, preparing breakfast, and getting the children ready for school, was in no mood for his sharp tongue. At the table, she asked him gently, "Peter, please, the school fees are due. The landlord has been asking for rent too. We need to plan." Instead of listening, Peter banged his spoon on the table. "Comfort, must you nag me every morning? Do I not provide for this family? Why can't you be quiet for once?" Comfort's face tightened. She had swallowed this kind of talk too many times. "I am not nagging. I am reminding you. These children are your responsibility too." The children froze, their eyes darting between their parents. Peter's anger flared. His voice thundered, "Enough. I will send you back to your father's house today." The children gasped. They had heard the words before, but this time they felt something different. Comfort did not shrink. She did not bow her head. She stood tall and looked him in the eye. "Then do it," she said quietly, her voice steady like iron. "Throw me out. But remember, threats have expired in this house." Her boldness pushed him past reason. In a rage, he stormed into the bedroom, pulled out her clothes from the wardrobe, and flung them into the sitting room. Shoes scattered across the floor. Her wrapper fell over the television. The children began to cry. "Take your things," he shouted. "Go back to your father's house. Learn respect there before you come back here." The walls shook with his anger. He expected her to fall on her knees, to beg him, to hold his legs and cry, "Please, my husband, forgive me." That had always been the ending of their fights. But not today. Comfort looked around the sitting room. She saw her clothes, her handbag, her wrappers lying on the floor. The children clung to her legs, crying, "Mommy, don't go." Her eyes filled with tears, but not of fear, of decision. She bent down, kissed each child on the forehead, and whispered, "Be strong for me." Then she gathered her belongings, tied her scarf, and walked to the door. Peter's eyes widened. "Comfort. Where are you going?" She turned and said the words that stabbed him deeper than any knife. "You told me to leave. I am obeying you. Goodbye, Peter." And just like that, she was gone. The house fell into silence. The children wailed. Peter stood frozen, his chest heavy. He thought she was bluffing, that she would return after a few hours. But the hours became a full day. Then 2. Then 3. On the 4th day, his pride cracked. He picked up his phone and called her father. "Papa, is Comfort there? She walked out after a fight, and I need to bring her home." But Papa's voice was hard. "She is not here. And even if she comes, you will not take her for granted again. A wife is not a slave you threaten every day. If you want her, go and search for her yourself." Peter's mouth went dry. He called her brothers. Each one gave the same answer, "We don't know where she is. Stop treating our sister like property." He was stunned. He was sure she was hiding with them. But it seemed they were all protecting her. The children grew restless. Every night they asked, "Daddy, where is Mommy? When will she come back?" He could not answer. His once powerful words had now turned against him. The very thread that gave him control had opened the door to loneliness. Cooking for the children drained him. Washing their clothes wore him out. Taking them to school made him late to work. His boss began to complain. His colleagues whispered behind his back. His once neat suits looked wrinkled. His once confident walk became heavy. Peter had believed he was punishing Comfort, teaching her a lesson. But now it felt as though she was the one teaching him. At night, lying on his bed, staring at the ceiling, he began to whisper the question that burned his pride, "Where are you, Comfort? Why won't you come back?" But no answer came. Only silence. And in that silence, his real lesson was only beginning. The house grew quieter with each passing day, but the silence was not peace, it was punishment. Peter thought he was strong, but caring for 3 children alone turned him into a shadow of himself. Every morning was a battle. He woke up late, struggled to dress the children, burned the breakfast, and rushed them to school. By the time he reached his office, sweat clung to his shirt and exhaustion pulled his shoulders down. His boss called him one morning. "Peter, what is happening to you? You come late, you miss deadlines." "This is not the man I hired." Peter bowed his head. How could he explain that his wife had left him because of his pride? At home, the children's questions cut deeper than a knife. "Daddy, when is mommy coming back? Doesn't she love us anymore?" Their eyes searched his face for answers he did not have. Some nights, he broke down. He hid in the bathroom so the children would not see him cry. He remembered the days Comfort used to make the house warm with her laughter, the meals she cooked, the way she tucked the children into bed. He had thought her presence was ordinary, something he could command with a threat. Now he realized it was a treasure. Desperate, he called her father again. "Papa, please, I beg you. Tell me where she is. I cannot do this alone." But Papa's voice was firm. "We told you before, do not take our daughter for granted. She will return only when she is ready. Until then, carry the burden you created." Weeks turned into months. Peter's pride melted into regret. He looked at every corner of the house and felt her absence like a heavy shadow. Then, one evening, as he returned home with the children, he saw a figure waiting by the gate. His heart stopped. It was Comfort. She stood tall, a calm strength in her eyes. She looked different, confident, composed, as if the weeks away had given her new power. The children screamed, "Mommy," and ran into her arms. She hugged them tightly, tears streaming down her face. Peter's legs trembled. He wanted to run to her, to fall on his knees, but shame chained his steps. Finally, he whispered, "Comfort, you came back." She looked at him, her voice steady. "Yes, I came back. But not the same woman who left. You thought threats would keep me small, but leaving showed me my worth. I am not your prisoner, Peter. I am your partner." Peter's eyes filled with tears. "Comfort, I was wrong. I thought I was in control. I thought fear would make you respect me. But I only pushed you away. Please, forgive me." She shook her head gently. "Forgiveness is not just words. It is action. If you want me here, you must learn that respect builds a home, not threats. Our children must grow in love, not fear." The children clung to her gown, nodding as if they understood. Peter dropped to his knees in front of them all. His pride shattered like glass. "I will change. I will never use those words again. Please, let us start again." Comfort's face softened. For the first time in many weeks, she smiled faintly. "Then let us build a new home together. One where threats die, and love lives." From that day, Peter never used his cruel line again. The words, "I will send you back to your father's house," became buried in the past, replaced with, "Thank you, my wife," and "I am sorry." It was not easy. Change took time. But each step he took in humility, each act of respect, rebuilt the trust he had broken. And every time he looked at Comfort, he remembered the lesson that burned into his soul. Power built on fear will always collapse. But respect, patience, and love will keep a home standing forever. Moral lesson of the story. A home cannot be built on fear and threats. Words spoken in anger can wound deeper than knives, and respect is the true language of love. A wise husband learns that his wife is not a prisoner to be silenced, but a partner to be cherished. When pride falls, humility rises, and only then can peace return. Respect keeps a marriage strong, but threats can destroy it. For more unforgettable folktales, remember to subscribe, like, share, and subscribe to AB Folktale Stories, where wisdom lives forever. Thank you for watching.